Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of September 25th, 2023, and a date of marriage of 2005. She has an at-home MLCer who is a high-energy replayer. She says, I need help to verify or to determine if my MLCer, if it's an exit affair or not, or midlife crisis. Bomb drop was in September. He said he was depressed. He hated his job. He's not happy, not having a fulfilling life. He's concerned with aging and low self-esteem. The alienator is 33, an onlyfan creator, and he is 57. He co-signed an apartment for her, and she lives 4 hours away. Brought her during business trips twice. He drives 4 hours each way to visit once a month. After bomb drop, he gaslit me. He blamed me. He later admitted that things were not my fault, but they were his. He does not want to move out at all. He enjoys cake eating. When forcing to move out or working on our marriage, he said he did so much damage. He did not want to try because there was no warranty to save the marriage. He said the marriage is done. He said he's not happy, but did not want to get divorced. He moved out and wanted to stay to raise our two teenagers. I confronted to ask him if he was falling in love with her, and he said no. He's still connected to our teenagers. After bomb drop, he wants her, but now he's calm and he seems normal. And then she added a little bit and said he talked to her that he said he broke up with the alienator because there's no future, but I double checked and found out that he does still talk to her. I confronted him with no response, so he didn't respond to that. I'm still pressing him to move out. He said he'll work on it. He says he doesn't want to work on the marriage. Total avoidance. Said he did too much damage, but doesn't want a divorce. Now maybe he worries he has to. I'm worried that he has to. He's worried that he has to pay me lots of money. She's wondering if he's worried about that. Is that what's motivating him? Please help to see if this is an MLC or an exit affair. Because if it's an exit affair, I'll be willing to go with divorce. So I'm going to go over those two, but there is absolutely nothing in the description you have given me that says anything remotely like an exit affair. Okay? So, for anyone curious, I am going to put a link to my article, Exit Affair versus Midlife Crisis. That is the title. It was before I was trying to come up with catchy titles. And go over that. But in this situation, everything you are describing screams MLC. So, I've switched pages. Let me go back to that for a moment and talk about it a little bit, okay? So, first thing, he's not having a fulfilling life. He's concerned about aging. Those are some classic things that go with MLC. But one of the other things with an exit affair is they're one and done. The point of an exit affair is to exit. He hasn't exited. He said he doesn't want a divorce. He doesn't want to move out. He is resistant to doing the things that exit affairs, even you could say, he's not trying to exit, and you are trying to get him to move out. And he say, we'll see, or I'm working on it. But it was because, here you say, I am still pressing him to move out. He said he will work on it. An exit affair, you're not pressing him to move out. You may kick him out, but they were waiting, if that's how it works, and they don't go out on their own because of it, we're waiting for you to be the bad guy so that it's just an excuse. They were hoping you'd do that, but really they were planning on moving, but they just were going to make it look like you did it. And that's not all. Some of them will move out on their own. No, he is resistant to it. He doesn't want to leave. Now, should he? Yeah, sure, should. And should you kick him out? Maybe. I am hesitant to recommend kicking them out when the midlife crisis bomb drop was recent. At the same time, there's an affair. You know there's an affair. He knows you know there's an affair, and it's still going on. That means that you are teaching him how to treat you, and teaching him that if you let him live there and know he's having an affair, then he's allowed to have an affair, even if he's not allowed to have an affair. And that maybe you'll hold it over him and resent it. And where are you going? But there was this unspoken agreement because he let me stay here, knowing what I was already doing. There's nothing about exit in that. Nothing. He's not trying to exit. And so you're trying to come up with excuses. First, I can see you're doing what everybody does. You're trying to figure out, is this MLC or not? And trying to come up with excuses why it's not. Everything screams that. Maybe you think it's an exit affair because he seems normal now. Does he really? So first thing, MLCers cycle. So they're going to have periods of being more nice. Sometimes it's manipulation. Also, he's getting along with your teenagers. Well, not all of them, have splits from the children. Sometimes, some of them, maybe they'll get closer to the children. If they had a really great relationship with the kids before MLC, that often disintegrates. If they didn't have a great relationship, for some of them, well, it just stays bad. But for some of them, that they start to solidify that, and they become some of it is the immature person who is regressing to the same age as the children's, enabling that closeness, and some of them, they become close to their children. So what he's doing with the children is not a sign that it's not midlife crisis. And what I'm seeing more is if he's acting normal for a few hours or days or even a couple of weeks, that's a cycle. He's cycling, and he's going to continue to cycle. They have moments of good. They have moments of bad. I sometimes say they take a vacation from the tunnel. They're on the MLC train and they pop out one of those air pop out things on the top so they can run on top of the train. And it seems crazy, literally, to run on top of a train, but that would be them coming out to a sense of the world and normalcy. But it's a cycle. They're not going to stay in that. He says he's done. He's done with the marriage, but he doesn't want to leave the house. He doesn't want a divorce. Those are not matching up. If you're done, you are going for a divorce, unless there's some other reason that you're having all levels of divorce except paper, such as we can stay married so that we could get the insurance, or for the kids' schooling, or there's no reason to do it because we're not seeing anybody, and why change the paperwork? But for the most part, no, he's not interested in it. He just wants to have his cake and eat it too. Exit affairs aren't cake eaters. I mean, they might eat some cake, but they're trying to exit. They're not trying to live in both worlds. Everything you've said is he's trying to live in both worlds. Just cake eating is when they want to have you and her. That's not an exit. There's nothing about it that is an exit. So, a couple of other things about exit affairs. I'm just gonna, while I'm talking, I'm scrolling through my the link that I'm going to put in. So, firm endings is one of the things. Exit affairs is I am done with the marriage, and very little, if any, back and forth. Midlife crisis, often back and forth. If you have a vanisher, ignore what I just said. So the more they are a boomerang, the more it will feel back and forth. The more that they are a clinging of any kind, even if they're clinging and off and on, the more it will feel back and forth. The more confusing it will be, the more mixed messages you will receive. If you're not getting mixed messages, or maybe the only reason you're getting a mixed message is because you're in denial, that might be an exit affair. But you haven't described that at all to me. So, MLC behaviors, cake eating, you're describing that. There is an avoidance that is part of exit affairs, but there's an avoidance that is part of midlife crisis. They're not the same avoidance. In exit affairs, the betrayer is avoiding the issues within the marriage. In MLC, sure, they may be avoiding that, but they're avoiding the issues within themselves. Midlife crisis is an identity crisis. They're avoiding their own self-development, self-growth. They're, who am I? And they're afraid of who they are. They're afraid of finding out. They're avoiding who they are and the journey that you go on to become fully self-actualized. And MLCers are trying to regain a sense of control. Life is falling apart. They are aging. and they are not maybe remembering. Their children are growing up. Maybe their spouse is changing. Maybe a stay-at-home spouse is getting a job. Maybe they're seeing the maturation of their spouse and they feel they're moving apart. But something feels like the change. I felt so good with this life we had. And maybe now they feel out of control. Maybe but they might also explain it differently. That life we had is stagnant. Still part of out of control. They're making some excuses sometimes too. You were boring, stagnant. And then they say not enough change. But they are afraid of the changes, especially the changes within. So this is not an exit affair. Read the article anyway, and for anyone else listening, go look at that article if you are wondering, so that it's good to know what kind of affair is out there and whether they're an exit affair. But there's nothing in your description that is saying that. Okay? I hope this is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question.